Hey everybody, welcome to another video here on the 67 Stang channel. So we're going to get in and talk about things. Here it has been 3 years since I started this journey to save this old girl. So let's kind of talk about things, what we've done, what we've accomplished, and go from there. Okay, it's really hard to believe it has been 3 years since I started the journey of reviving this old girl and trying to get her back to a stable state where she is safe to drive and enjoy. So, you know, these things don't happen overnight, right? As I said, it was 3 years ago, actually 3 years, a month or two now, since I started. So let's think back, right? Let's think back to that first moment when I decided to start saving this old girl, right? She had been sitting in my parents' garage for over 22 years. Originally, my wife and I had this car as a secondary car. And then when we, I guess, got our first new vehicle, we ended up taking it over there because my dad and mom had room in their garage and parked her there. And that was in 1991 in High So's. Hi, kitty. So, anyway, so we parked her there, and never anticipated in 91 when we parked it that she was going to sit there for the next 22 years. So we fast forward those 22 years to 3 years ago, and I guess that would make it since it's 2022, that would be, 2019 now? 2020? 2019 had to be because it was before COVID, right? I decided after watching several YouTube videos that I was going to give it a shot. Having gotten tired of seeing this old girl languish, I was going to try to get her to run. And I did that after watching a bunch of YouTube videos from various channels. Some of these y'all probably know, like Vice Garage with Derek, Mustang's 429, what else do we have? Thunderhead 289, and others, right, where they go out and revive these. I thought I could do it. So again, thinking back to the condition this car was in, I'll try to pop in pictures as we talk through the various things I've done with this car. Well, she was sitting in my parents' garage. She was covered in mold and mildew on the outside. She had a box and paint cans stacked on the trunk, or I'm sorry, the hood. In the inside, because the windows had been rolled up that whole time, also covered in mold and mildew, and it was all green and nasty. So she looked pretty sad. And when we popped the hood underneath here, it was covered in rust and cobwebs, and it was a mess. So trying to get her running was a bit of a challenge. It only took me 3 weekends of doing that, or working on her to get her running, and it did require some parts. So what did we do to get her running? Well, had to put a new battery in, obviously. I think I had to get one new battery cable at least at the time. Got a new thermostat, had to get a new water pump and thermostat housing because that broke. And what else did we have to do there? Oh, the points, right? The points in the original distributor. I couldn't find any, not locally anyway, and I decided after, again, watching some videos to replace the points with a Petronix electronic ignition in a new coil. So we got all that in there finally. Also went ahead and I got a new gas tank back there to put in, because I knew after sitting for 20 something years the gas tank was probably shot based on things I had seen. So we did that. I think I had to get some new rubber fuel line too, if I remember correctly. And, oh yeah, new radiator hoses. So got new radiator hoses. Got all that in, and we finally, after 3 weekends, got her started. Got to hear her run again for the first time in 22 years there. Pretty impressive, I thought, because I've never done things like that, or at least it's been a long time. I did work on some back in the 80s, but getting her running and sitting that long, it's good. So of course, once we got her running, that led to an oil change in there, and we did find the radiator had a leak. So the original radiator had a leak in it. So I ended up pouring some stop leak in there to stop that. I eventually did try to get a new aluminum radiator from Summit Racing, because there's one not too horribly far from me, but they said would fit. It was a 3-row aluminum radiator. It didn't fit, and the outlets were on the wrong side. They were all on the, I think, all on the driver's side. This has one on the passenger side, one on the driver's side. So couldn't fit that in there. So that's one thing that's going to happen when you work on these old cars. You're going to end up buying things that don't fit, don't work. In the case of this car here, I have, there's some other issues. Apparently in '67 there was a option for early production and late production. And early production 67s went up into the end of February, 1st of March timeframe, as I understand it. And then late production is anything after that. This one was kind of right there in the cusp. It was came off the assembly line on March 22nd of 1967. So they were still putting some of the early production things into it, as well as some of the late production stuff. So that's been a challenge there. So we got her running again. Again, 3 weekends. That was pretty cool. Then, now that she was running, we had to make sure she would move. So we put transmission fluid. It took a lot of transmission fluid. She had leaked out a lot. Apparently that's common with C4 transmissions, that they will leak over time, and given how long she had sat there and the number of stains under the car on my dad's garage floor, I'm not surprised. So we dumped, I think, probably close to 8 quarts or more of transmission fluid in her, had her jacked up, got the wheels spinning with that. So we got that going, and of course, as part of getting the wheels spinning, we had to do the brakes. The brakes on the car were in pretty bad shape. So, there, went through, got all the brakes redone, new master cylinder, all new brake lines, hard and soft, new wheel cylinders on all 4 wheels. Luckily, the drums and the brake shoes were in pretty darn good shape. I didn't have to replace those. I did replace all the hardware. I got all new springs and holding pins and whatever done in there. So we were able to get the car going that way. Some of the brake lines were challenging, getting the brakes to bleed. I've since learned that on the proportioning valve that's up here next to the master cylinder, apparently there's a way to pin that open so that it makes it easier to bleed the lines out. I didn't know that at the time, so it took forever to get that blood out, but so we got her stopping, so we got her basically stopping, moving, and running. So from there, we took her on our first drive. And all of that took several months to get all of that done, going down on the weekends, working at my dad's place, carrying the tools with me. But then we drove her from his house all the way up here to mine. And it was, at that point, once I got it where I could get it up here, Dad actually signed the car over to me. He was the owner, he and my mom were the owners of the car. But because I was the only one showing interest in getting the old girl running and spent my own money to it, he signed it over to me. So made it officially my car. Very happy with that, obviously. There. Oh, Lord. So, gosh, what else have we done? Right, got it up here. There was some immediate things that needed to happen. So first, the floor pans. On the driver's side, massive rust coming through, big holes on that. Found a small hole on the passenger side that I didn't know was there. Also in the torque box, found a hole underneath. So that, you know, meant having to redo all that. Of course, while this was going on, my mom passed away, sadly, but she got to see the car driving out of the driveway and hear it run, which was good. But she left me money directed to buy parts, so that was a big bump in there. So we got the new floor pans in there, was able to buy a welder, had no welding experience prior to this. So we did that, right? We tackled the floor pans, pulled the whole interior out of that, and then cut out the old floor pans, put in the new ones, and made them fit. I'm going to tell you, is it pretty? No, the welding's not pretty, but it's solid. I've had some folks look at it, and they'll agree. It ain't pretty, but it's solid. And being a unibody car, it was important to have that done as a safety feature. Made sure it was all straight and good in there, so we did the floor pans. Also, while that was going on, while we had the interior out, I rewired the whole car. Right, we used that American Auto Wire harness for that. Rewired everything, pulled every bit of wire out of this car. It was the original wiring harness. It was getting brittle. Nothing bad had happened yet, but I figured might as well do it, right? So completely rewired the whole car. Again, something I'd never done before, but with that American Auto Wire kit, the instructions were really good, and there were several videos. So Auto Resto Mod's channel with Jeff Ford has a couple of different videos about using the American Auto Wire harness in both a Mustang and an F100. Those were invaluable. Really appreciated that. And I do want to say thanks to a lot of the YouTube channels out there, like Jeff Ford's Auto Resto Mod, Joe Daddy's Garage, was it Rookie Mechanic, or Rookie Garage, Grease Rookie Garage, that's it. All of those were big helps for getting this car done, as well as, again, looking back through all the other channels I've already mentioned. So got that done. Also, I had all that out and noticed that there was some leaks coming in through the cowl up here. Now, I put a scope up in here and looked up in to see how bad the cowl was rusted. It wasn't in bad shape. The only place where there was rust was right around, there's a collar where the two vents. So there's a vent here, and there's a vent on the passenger side over there. And there's a collar that sticks up into the cowl, so up under, below here, sticks up. And right there with that collar meets the bottom of the cowl area, there was some small rust holes that had been forming there. So I found a collar, a kit, that is plastic, that adheres up in there, that will seal that. And that worked fine. A lot of folks did complain, telling me I need to replace the cowl altogether. But I felt with what I saw looking up in there that what I did was good enough. And so far, no leaks. I've washed the car, had it out in the rain. Nothing came through that cowl. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and let those in, and we'll come back and talk more. So give me a second. Okay, so where was I? I think I was talking about the cowls. Okay, so yeah, so got those in. So far, like I said, they've done fine. Again, a lot of folks complain that I should have pulled and replaced the whole cowl. In the grand scheme of things, they're probably right, but for the amount of damage I saw and what I'm trying to do with the car, the collars have worked fine. No complaints there. So, let's see, what other little things have I done? Oh yeah, as part of the rewiring, I got a new instrument bezel and got that in. So that looks nice in there. So we also, after we did the floors, my wife surprised me with new carpet for the car, right? So we put in new carpet. We also put in sound deadener in there to keep some of the vibration and noise and heat from coming through. So that's been a big help there. He really enjoyed having that in there. So what did we do? There's some brakes inside. Oh yeah, we got a new package tray in the back, so we got that put in. As well as a panel that goes behind the rear seat, separating the passenger compartment from the trunk. So put a metal panel in there. The original panel that goes behind the seat, I think it's a kind of a, well, it's a basic glorified cardboard in there, and then it has some sound deadening, like lint matting type thing, jute or something I think they call it, that goes in there. So I put the metal in there as a safety measure to help separate, because the gas tank is in the back. It forms the floor of the trunk, and if something were to happen back there, I didn't want gas or whatnot coming through. So that metal is another safety measure improvement, upgrade I made to the car. So, so we've done that. What else have we done? Oh yeah, as part of the rewiring, we also added the one wire alternator. So it's a Power Master alternator, and I think it produces 125 amps, if I'm not mistaken. That is a good bit over. If I remember correctly in doing some research, and I could be wrong, so correct me in the comments if I am, but the 3-wire system that comes stock on these cars, the most amperage it makes, I think you can get one up to 95 amps. And I went with the bigger one, because the American Auto Wire harness requires you to go to a 1-wire alternator. But also, my idea is that I want to make sure that we have enough power in here so I can charge a cell phone if I want to, or use it for navigation purposes. If I want to put in a nice sound system at some point, I've got the power for that. If I put in AC or power steering, if I go electrical potentially, or want to put electric fans in it or whatever, I'd have enough power. And so that Power Master alternator sets me up for all that. It was a great upgrade to the car in there. So let's see what other things we've done. Oh, we've done some cosmetic things, although it doesn't necessarily look like it so much, but we painted the front and rear valence panels. I guess that's what they're called, the panels under the bumpers. So those were all primered gray, and so we pulled those off and painted those. I put in the reverse lights and the front parking lights and turn indicators is part of the wiring stuff there. So we got that done. Done a lot of cleanup underneath the car, cleaning up a lot of the grease and things that are there. So very excited to have done that. Oh, new antenna we put in here, new mirrors. The chrome was starting to wear on these, so we put a new mirror here. It's a remote mirror, and we added one to the passenger side. So we got that. Now also we've got these from, I think, CJ Pony Parts. I've not been very impressed with these mirrors. It's very hard. I can't get them to lock in place. They wiggle around a lot. So if anybody's got any tips and tricks on how to make that thing lock, I've got the screws tightened as far as I can. I don't know, maybe putting a washer or something. I don't know. Anyway, so not been very impressed with these. They look nice, but functionally they're a pain in the keister. So what other things that we've done over the 3 years here? Oh yeah, all the weather stripping. So all the weather stripping on the doors, on the trunk, has all been replaced. So the window here, the window felts here, the jambs up here, this weather stripping here along this side. Again, all sides in there we've done. We also replaced the door cards in there because the old ones were worn out from me. Just years of water and stuff getting in there. So we replaced all that. And then, let's see, most recently, and I know I'm forgetting some things, most recently we have, oh, well, let me back up before I talk about that. I also obviously have cleaned, washed the car, done what I can to polish and preserve the paint as best as possible. We have worked on knocking out some of the dents, like this was a pretty big crease here on the front driver's fender as well. But still have more body work to do at this point, for sure. So again, it doesn't seem like as much as I've done. I mean, I think I've done a lot, again, I guess we figure I've had to do this over the weekends and things. Oh, I forgot all about the suspension too. Lord, completely redid the suspension on the car. All new springs, both leaf springs in the back, coil springs in the front, upper and lower control arms, and the ball joints. Tie rod couplers. The sway bar is original. I didn't replace the sway bar, but I cleaned it up. And then those, I don't know what those are, the big arms that connect to the lower control arm and go up into the frame. I forget what those are called, but those are original. I didn't replace those, but all the other control things up here. But so did all that, all new shocks all the way around as well, put in new shocks. So that was fun. So I guess that leaves what really we've been focused on this year, which was getting the EFI installed. So the Holly Sniper system, including the EFI unit that replaces the carburetor, the new Hyperspark distributor, the new fuel pump back here, and let's not talk about the sending units that I've had to deal with there. So we got all that installed and running, and then we've also done the cooling system, right? New radiator, replaced or added or changed out the thermostat from the stock 195 to a 180, and she seems to be running really good. So with that, guys, you know, I think at this point I can honestly say I've saved the Stang, right? She is in so much better shape. She's running, driving. Matter of fact, yesterday I had her out tooling around in the area, running some errands with her, and just driving, just cruising. I know at this day and age with the gas prices, that's probably not the smartest thing to do, but it's fun getting her out. And she was in her first car show. Oh, I forgot about that. Last weekend, I got a call from my niece telling me there was a car show up here in Auburn, Georgia, not far from where I live. And so I went up there mainly to spectate, but they invited me in. They had one other Mustang there that day. So I brought her, they let me bring her in, paid $20 to take part. I went to a veterans charity, which is near and dear to me, being a Navy vet. But it was just wonderful to sit out there and talk to people. So many folks had memories about these cars, and them seeing mine, and even though she's not in perfect condition, it stirred a lot of positive memories in folks. And a lot of folks were excited that I'm keeping the 6, that I'm not putting a V8 in it like so many have done that swap. And no offense to anybody that's done that. It's your car, do what you want to with it. That's what I say, but a lot of folks really like that. So she's been, you know, at this point she's great. She's where I can hop in, drive her. She's responsive, she stops okay. I mean, they're all drum brakes and whatnot. But at this point, she's not in danger of rotting through. She is in so much better shape that, you know, I think she can easily go another 50 years, even if I don't do anything else to her. I'm going to. I'm not done yet. But I really am excited. At this point, I think I can say we saved the Stang. So we'll no longer have any Save the Stang videos because she's saved. Now it's going to be upgrading the Stang, putting the power steering like I want to do at some point, the AC that I want to do, of course the body that needs to be done. I need to still finish the interior with new seats because these are split and all that. And I showed you all the seats that I want to put in here. I actually like, I know it's not right for the 67, but I like the pony design that was in the 65 and 66. So I'm looking at some of the TMI Sports or Sport 2 seats for this car that have the pony, and I'm thinking about putting the white insert, primarily because I'm here in the south of the U.S. and when it gets 95, 96 degrees with the sun blaring down, that black vinyl, I can tell you coming from that car show, gets hot, and it will take the skin off the back of your legs if you're not careful. So yeah, we've come a long way on this old girl. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the journey with me over these last 3 years. If you're looking for a project car, or you have an old family car that you want to restore, you know, I know we see some of these videos where they get them up and running and drive them for 100 miles after they've been sitting out in the field for a long time. Yes, that is entirely possible, not necessarily probable, but it takes a while to get these in this. I'm going to do a video more talking about what I've spent on the car in total at some point, and kind of talk about lessons learned now that I'm at this level with the car. But in general terms, and I haven't added everything up, I've spent just right around $11,000 to get the car to this point, right? So that is everything that I can think of, and I'm sure I'm forgetting little things because I didn't bother to count every little nut and bolt I ran up to Ace Hardware to get, and every little can of paint that I bought, and all of that. So it may be closer to 12,000, but it's somewhere in that $11,000 range I've spent to get her to here. And that's about 3 times or more than what my mom and dad paid for it originally in '67. So anyway, oh, and I just realized I misspoke. The car rolled off the assembly line on February 22nd of 1967, not in March. March is when my parents purchased it in Beaufort. So yeah, and it came out of the New Jersey plant. So anyway, but guys, I hope you've really enjoyed this journey. It's been a fun and learning experience for me, not being a car mechanic at all. Again, still a lot of work to do on the old girl, but at this point, you know, if something were to happen and I couldn't continue, I feel that she would be in good enough condition that she would last for a good number of years at this point. So with that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I am going to continue to have content. It's going to be a little bit more sparse because, well, I don't have a lot of other things to do that I have to do. I mean, I have some other items over here on my parts shelf. I still have U-joints for the drive shaft, but the ones in there seem to be fine. So do I replace them for the, or do I hold on to those? I don't know yet. I've got a fan, which I mentioned in the last video, that I could put on. That's got 6 blades instead of 4, but the car, again, it's not going over 175, 176 degrees once the thermostat opens in there. So I don't know if I'm probably going to hold off till I do the AC for that one. Let's see. Oh, still do have the fan shroud I could put on, but again, doesn't seem to be necessary. But anyway, I still have a few things I'll do, so expect that. With that, folks, again, hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a fun journey with this. Hope you have too, and I'll see y'all in the next video, whenever that happens to be. Thanks, guys. See you later.